On a busy street in late October 2023, I found a young American toad with a broken wrist in two places, sitting vulnerable in the middle of the road. Road mortality is heartbreakingly high for amphibians, especially for American toads. Yet, somehow, Baldwin defied the odds, surviving long enough for me to find him. What are the chances that not only would I rescue him, but that I was also building a massive and realistic 242-gallon Pennsylvania woodland enclosure, specifically for American toads like him? After reviewing the x-rays, it became clear he had broken his wrist in multiple places. The vet said amputation, euthanasia, or an intensive and risky surgery that's 50-50, and it's more than likely not to work out. Because of the goodwill I have towards American toads, being my favorite animals, I couldn't stand to see this little toad in severe pain. I chose the surgery, $2,500, and it was no guarantee that this was going to pan out. I was risking everything I could with all of my savings on this surgery. With that much investment, I made the decision to go all in on his care. Every 2 weeks, he would return to the vet's office for x-rays, and we would also make sure that he was completely clean and sanitized to avoid any bacterial infections. And it was clear, after spending all of that time showing him that love and care and nurturing him back to good health, he responded in a positive way. It's now finally a year after the surgery, and Baldwin has been thriving inside the PA Woods Vivarium. This little toad has been through so much in the last year, it's unbelievable to think that he's still with us. Who knows what he's faced in his suburban neighborhood that he used to live, with stray cats and cars, along with predatory birds, people with malice, and even lawnmowers. But despite all of that, he was able to evade them for as long as he could. Finally, he has a rest inside the PA Woods Vivarium. After working with him inside this enclosure, and now finally realizing that I mean him no harm, I've taught him how to target train, he'll even take food by hand, and he comes out as soon as he sees me, waiting for me to drop some kind of insect in for him to have dinner. This is exactly what I wanted and what I had envisioned getting him that surgery. And not only that, he has the entire front leg, and his wrist has rehealed. The wrist that was surgically repaired is the one you're looking at, the left one. It looks similar to a club. He doesn't have 100% mobility, but it's somewhere around 80 to 90, and I know it doesn't bother him anymore. Before the surgery, the nights leading up to it, he was constantly crying and wincing in pain. You could just see that he was hurting so bad. And with all of that happening in front of me, I couldn't help but feel some type of emotional attachment. For a multitude of reasons, I decided to give him the name Baldwin, not because of Alec Baldwin, but because of the star of the movie Kingdom of Heaven from 2005, Baldwin IV, the Leper King. He was urging for all of those around him to have religious peace and tolerance among the time of the First Crusades. King Baldwin IV was called the Boy King. He was 16 years old when he assumed the throne. And in this kingdom, the Woods and Forests community, we lost our king, Wellsboro, the Golden Toad, a year ago. With that being said, there was an opportunity to fill that vacancy, and I was hoping that Baldwin was going to be that toad. So all of the stars align for this name to be the most meaningful as possible, but also to bring a lot of value. And while Baldwin IV suffered from leprosy, there's a common misconception that American toads give you warts, and all frogs and toads are considered dirty and disease-ridden animals, and some people to this day even think they're evil. So I thought, why not give this a talking point? That's why I chose the name Baldwin. While he has a compelling story and everybody's rooting for him, he's not the only one living inside this enclosure, and he's also not the only one with an impressive story behind him. Baldwin lives in one of the most competitive enclosures, and he was going to need his front leg and especially his wrist if he was going to compete with the likes of the female American toad Junia, a female American toad whose story we covered a little while back on the channel, and you can check her video out either in the card above or in the playlist description below. Junia is a female American toad who is very aggressive and bold, and she doesn't like to share. And she saw in the very beginning that Baldwin was more nervous and a little bit more cautious of myself and the other inhabitants. During the same day that the Thanksgiving Day Swarms battle was filmed, the last episode before this one to debut on the channel, this is the events that took place immediately after the filming of that. When Ananias completely outcompeted Junia, she had to have a backup plan, or plan B. What she witnessed was Baldwin coming out trying to learn how to target train, and he's not Ananias. He's not a very aggressive or bold toad. He's very timid and shy, so targeting him was like taking candy from a baby. And as Junia quickly learned this, she used it to her advantage. She was exploiting the calm and docile behavior of Baldwin, and you could see she was bullying him at every opportunity she could. This was not something that I enjoyed filming, but I thought it was necessary to include to show you how these American toads actually interact with each other in captivity. Keep in mind, this enclosure is over 6 feet long and nearly 2 feet wide. With her having that much space, she still chose to get up close and personal and to go after and bully poor Baldwin. This is something I think a lot of keepers need to witness. As we say, our animals have enough space, or we could fit as many as we possibly can into a small space. There's only 3 American toads in this enclosure for this very reason. Even with 3, sometimes I still get concerned. As you can see, Junia is unrelenting, and she is very aggressive, very dominant, and she's clearly bullying him. It's not something that I sat back and watched for very long, but I wanted to document this so that way, as keepers of American toads, for those of you on the Frog and Toad Facebook group, those of you on our reptile forum, or any subscribers who are fans of this channel, you have a chance to see what the behavior can be like even in large enclosures with American toads. Junia became such a menace that we almost had to make the decision to pull Baldwin from this enclosure. The Disney-esque story of Baldwin was nearly going to take a U-turn on this night, as Junia was unrelenting and continuously showing how she was going to be a handful. We had to stop and wonder if Baldwin was going to be able to acclimate to this ecosystem, living in this hostile environment. As some time went on, we could even see when there was no food being offered, Junia would still lunge at Baldwin. She would still try to intimidate him and scare him away. She was trying to mark her territory, that this target belonged to her and this ecosystem was hers. It was almost like she was initiating the beginning of their rivalry, just like she had with Ananias. She was firing the first shot in this upcoming rivalry, and we weren't sure if this was even going to work out because of the way she dominated. But to Baldwin's credit, he was able to hang in there, and despite all of the hazing that came from Junia, as time would go on, he would start to outcompete her and challenge her at every step of the way, just like Ananias did. I can't wait to showcase in future episodes some of the footage I've been able to capture of Baldwin standing up to Junia and outcompeting her on some nights. It's an incredible rivalry that she fired the first shots for. There's a life lesson that we can learn in the story of Baldwin. As we step into the holiday season, to enjoy this time with our family, our friends, even our co-workers, and those of us who practice religion, in our institutions, all of our fellowship with each other. You might cross paths with somebody who's down on their luck, somebody who's going through the darkest times of their life. And that person might not be asking for any help and might not have anybody coming to their rescue. And all it would take is for you to just go show them a little mercy and offer a hand to pick them back up. Just showing you care. That's what the story of Baldwin is all about. When I encountered this little toad, severely exhausted, severely wounded, and down on his luck, waiting to get struck by a car and end him, I made a decision with all the conviction I felt that night that I was going to make a difference, that I was going to be the answer to his problem. Thankfully, I was blessed to be put in that situation, and I made my decision. So this holiday season, you have the same opportunity, and hopefully, like I did for Baldwin, you can do for somebody else, and how much more that might mean to a person who's down on their luck. Instead of looking for all of the gifts and all of the different things that the holiday season brings, maybe we can look to try to give that gift instead of receiving it. Looking to be the answer to somebody's problem. That's what Baldwin has taught me and what I've learned taking care of him for this past year. I hope that you'll like and subscribe and continue to watch the Woods Uncut for more stories about these incredible animals. That's going to do it for this episode. For Baldwin and myself, we'll see you in the next one. Merry Christmas. Thanks.